Welcome back. It might seem like we've got a lot more work to get this page right here looking like this, right? It looks a long ways off, but it's really not. So we'll get there soon enough. We are done with the top div. Now it's time to attack the left div. Remember, I've got these instructions here. I'm already done with step 7. So here we go. The left column has a width of 200 pixels. I gave it an ID of left, so I will address it as such. So width of 200 pixels. It has a background color on it of 900. I've been getting these literally wrong every time. Perfect. Right, that's not quite enough yet. So it's 200 pixels wide, dark red background, 10 pixels of padding. A lot of just generics on here. Like, I'm not trying to do padding left or padding right. This is already a long enough assignment. There are 2 H2 tags with relevant headings. We already did those. I'm going to highlight that because I'm done. One thing I notice, it's hard bouncing around. I save. I think I saved. I refresh. This text is actually white, so I'm going to say color. But I didn't tell you to do that, but it should be pretty apparent that that's what's happening. Hey, great. Next step. The box office revenues are in a 3x3 table with a width of 200. So we already did the HTML. The interesting thing about this is absolutely the most complicated div, but most of it's HTML. The formatting is going to be minimal. So the table itself is 200 pixels wide. The table has an ID of the box office. All I'm going to do is width 200. Not too hard. Is that the entire step? And it has a bottom margin of 50. I know I just said like I was going to make you do that, but you need it here. It's how I'm spreading things out. Okay, done with that step. Notice I say this table does not have any semantic tags, so no THs, no T heads, no T bodies, just in interest of time, but you should do those on your own. Next step, the text in the third column is bold and aligned to the right. Now the thing about a 3x3 table is that the third column is the last column. In other words, the TDs are the last ones in the row, right? Here's a TD right here. It's the last one within the row. I'm going to use that to my advantage. So I'm going to write it out like this. This isn't the best way to do this, but I will do it. So I'm going to use a pseudo class. So last child. So that means within every row, I want you to find the last TD, the last one, and I want to align the text to the right. I do not expect that to be too easy. The font weight is also bold. That's it. Show you what that looks like. This is going to jump around on us a bit. There we go, right? Looks a lot different. 3 number 1s. That's obviously not right. So just change the data. If you're wondering, the alternative to using that last child selector is you could have assigned a class here, 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 and just formatted them that way. That would be another way to do it. Or to skip the step altogether, I guess. Each one of these is roughly worth a point, so if you didn't know how to do that, it wouldn't be the end of the world. After the table, there's a form called Showtimes. It has 3 inputs. We've done that. Each will have a margin of 5 pixels. I decided that I'm going to remove that instruction. That's just, sand at the beach at this point. So I'm talking about the option select. Date and zip should be... So I'm saying the zip code should be a little narrower than the other inputs. The zip code is right here. It has an ID of zip. So I'm going to style it. Just style it. It'd be hard to address any other way because there's other inputs of type text. And so that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. The width, I don't know what the width should be. I'm going to say 75 pixels, just a wild guess. I never told you what it was, but I think that's going to do what we want. Really, all it needs to do is be narrower than the rest and wide enough to accommodate the search button. Notice that these are not evenly sized, whereas in my example they are. I certainly could style those, but I'm really thinking, hey, we need, we're times at a premium here, so let's just put the elements on the form. There's nothing wrong with this in the first place. Search is on the same line. This is good. All I need to do now is format that picture. That picture, so there are some callouts associated with it. So I say it has a width of 200 and a top margin of 50. So I need to know the ID of that image, and it's add. Right? It's a pain. You can see why IDs are painful because I've literally got unique IDs all over the place. The problem is that my everything on my page almost has different formatting. There's no consistency, which is why this is kind of a weird page. The final is going to be more uniform. Right? So the idea that you could use classes if you wanted to. Alright, I refresh this, and there we go. Did I float that div? I do not recall. I did not. So I'm jumping all the way back up to my big selector, left, and I'm going to float it to the left. Okay, this is going to allow the other content to wrap. Right, pretty bad one to forget, really, but that's why I couldn't have anything else on that line. Okay, highlight that. So now we're onto the main div, right? So we did that hard div in like 6 minutes. So the main div has a margin left, so I'm saying it does not float. It's 10 pixels greater than the left div. Well, the left div is 200 pixels wide and it has 10 pixels of padding on each side. So in other words, its total width is 220. So the main div, and what I'm getting at here, since I'm not floating it to the right, which you could, it would be a perfectly reasonable thing to do. I'm saying margin left is 230 pixels. And right, because remember that the left div is floated, and so if an element is not floated, it's really not aware of anything to its side. So if I do that, that's going to punch it out by 10 extra pixels. Sure, those bullets look dumb, but we'll be fixing that in a minute anyways. It also has 10 pixels of padding. Get that highlighted. That's an easy one. Alright, save that. Load it up, and it looks like that. Okay, getting somewhere. Next. Main section contains a navigation bar made from an unordered list. I'd say we already have that, but let's make it look like a navigation bar. It's hard to say where like step 14 starts and step 15 stops. So I'm going to use a nav. My selector is going to be nav, so I'll say nav ul. So I am going to be centering this, and I know it. So I'm going to apply some formatting at some point. I'm just going to leave that blank for now. Nav ul li, that's going to be styling the list items themselves. These need to float to the left. That's going to allow them to line up horizontally instead of vertically. Right? Kind of a big, well, it looks horrible, but we'll get it. They also need a width. Alright, consistent width is something I ask for later on as well. You notice I'm not really following the instructions at this point. We've done so many nav bars that you guys should just kind of know these things are coming. Okay, getting better. I've got 4 things. Each one of them is 100. They're also going to have these borders on them. We'll go border, we'll go 3 pixels, outset, gray. Just to show you what that looks like. So that border is like 6 pixels for each item. So I'm going to say the list altogether probably has a width of about 450 pixels. Doesn't have to be exact. I save that. Okay. And then the reason I set a width on it is so I can center it. And I center it by saying margin auto. And this should do what I want it to do. Very good. This is like the ugliest nav bar in history, but we're getting there. So I need to get rid of the list style type. Save that. Alright, so now I need to style the links. Alright, so that's going to look like this. I'm just going to go every link that's in a list item, because I only have one nav bar here, so it's going to work. I will say text decoration is none. That gets rid of the underlines. Display block, right? That's always something you want to do. It makes the entire button into the link. Let's go background color. I don't know what I'm going to do here. What did I do in the example? Like a light blue? I believe that's ABC. Let's save it and have a look at what we've got going on. The text should be red, I guess. What color is that? 990? Or 900. And I'm also going to do text align center. Okay, good, got that. So you see how the buttons are behaving as links, and I just kind of generically say something to the effect of li. Let's go after the pseudo class hover. Right, so I'm saying when you hover over them, change the color, the fore and the background color. So let's just do the laziest thing I could possibly think of, which is invert the colors. And it usually ends up looking okay. It'll be apparent. Right, I save those, I refresh. Yeah, I don't know if I like that, but you can see what's happening. Alright, so now my nav bar's done, and literally all I have left to do is style this text. I'm debating, should I do it right now? I'm pretty afraid of publishing the video. Fine, I will break this one off and I'll do a real short video where I finish up.